Hello, world. Welcome to the 209th climate change emergency protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I'm at the Eternal Peace Light. This is number 209, as I said. It is December 9th, 2022. And number 210 will be next week on December 16th, 2022. And, I'll be somewhere on location. So I'm at the site of the Eternal Peace Light, which is was dedicated in 1938 by Franklin Roosevelt. My dad was 15 and my mom was 10. They didn't know each other then, but they both were here for that dedication. On top is an urn that is 1 ton in weight, and the flame you see there is powered by natural gas, which is methane, which no longer is a great choice to do. My proposal is to use electric LED light and mirrors and use it like a searchlight and have it revolve around on electricity powered by solar power during the day, and it could be backed up by battery power at night. And that would be almost no cost for, as far as climate change goes. But, people are stuck in their dogma and they refuse to budge, and it's always been here. It's always been here. Well, times have changed, and you need to readjust to the change that's coming and is here now. And you can't keep on this path of tradition and things like that. You need a whole different thought process, what's going on. And the Peace Light is an example of peace with nature and peace with yourself, not just about the Civil War and the North and South. So it's a thought process. It requires changing, and it's difficult. But we have to make tough choices, and this is an easy one right here for that. But that'll fly in the face of everyone that is a traditionalist, and we don't want that to happen. So the COP15 Peace Conference is occurring right now, which nobody knows about because it's in Montreal and the media is not covering it all. But you do know about Taylor Swift, and you know about Celine Dion and the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, we know about that. But the conference, COP15 conference, is going on in Montreal right now. And Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN, said this is the last best chance to save all humanity from extinction. No one's covering it. So it's like, whoopee, we're all going to die. So it's the last best chance to survive. It's all about the ecosystem and biodiversity. It's called the Biodiversity Conference. It's not to be confused with the COP27 conference, which was a climate change conference that just ended in Egypt, which they refused to talk about oil and natural gas and coal and things like that and make proposals and actually do something. They threw money at the Global South, and the Global South was happy, and they trotted back to their places and acted like nothing bad is going to happen to them again because they're going to be promised some money that's not ever going to come to them. So this is a failure of the political system, a failure of these conferences. They have 20,000 people at this conference. You cannot get jack what done at these conferences when you have 20,000 people. The COP27 conference that was in Egypt had 600 representatives from the oil and gas industry at the climate change conference. I mean, this is insanity what's going on, and nobody says anything. So, okay, so Guterres, I'll post his lead-in statement. It's an hour-long thing on YouTube about all the politicians after him talking, blah, 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 blah. But his statement for the first 7 minutes is really, really good. And I'll try to post that underneath, in the comment section of this video here. He talked about finance. You need 3 actions done, at the very least. This is just from a biodiversity angle. 3 actions done: finance, food, energy, and infrastructure. That's the first angle. Second angle we need to go after is subsidies and tax breaks for the oil and gas industry. I say stop doing it altogether. It's ridiculous. We're giving $6 trillion worldwide. They're giving $6 trillion a year to the oil and gas industry and coal industry. That is $11 million a second going to the oil and gas industry as subsidies. Who knows what they're doing in tax breaks as well. The third action he said to do is rights of indigenous peoples and local communities. That's a lot of wording. Basically what he means is we've got to worry about the forest, pipelines going through communities, water rights, climate change actions such as, worrying about cutting on carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and all that stuff, which results in hurricanes, floods, and droughts. And mostly the poor people of the world are profoundly affected by that, such as the Global South, and also the poor people in the United States. They're They're having issues happen to them. When a flood happens, usually it's through the poor communities. If a drought happens, the rich people just go to the grocery store and buy their way out of it, but the poor people cannot afford to pay the increase in food prices. And that's what's happening worldwide right now. He also talked about food, sustainable methods, with nature. We got to use natural methods such as pollination, pest control, stop spraying all the crops and everything. Also fertilizers, that requires a whole lot of petrochemicals to get that going. People don't know about that. The timber and construction industry, talked about that. The impact on nature. He didn't go into that, but my thinking is that we need to explore hempcrete, using hemp and concrete, as well as bamboo in construction. He said there's a relentless concentration in the hands of the few. That is an understatement. Depending which website you go to, it's either 26 people have half of the world's wealth, or 8 people have half of the world's wealth. Regardless what it is, 8 people, for example, would have more wealth than the 3.8 billion people on Earth. This is insanity what's going on, and people just go along, well, they earned it. No, there's stuff going on, tax breaks and insider stuff going on in the governments of the world, and there's a reason why these people get to the top and stay at the top. You got psychopaths in the government, you got psychopaths that have all the money. And by the term psychopath, I mean people who do any method necessary to keep in control, and that has been proven throughout history. He also talked about companies investing and banks investing and becoming allies of nature, not against nature. So stop subsidizing the fossil fuel industry. Stop giving tax breaks to them. Stop funding. If someone says, I want to dig an oil well or whatever, say drill an oil well, say no, I'm not funding that. But they won't do that because that's where the investors demand profit, and that whole term of endless capitalism is going to kill us all. He also talked about protecting and restore the ecosystem. Well, good luck with that, because you're going to be battling the whole groups. And, until there's a thought process that change in the top, which requires people at the bottom to actually protest, nothing's going to happen. We need to protect and restore the ecosystem, but I don't know how you're going to do that when there's craziness going on. We need to be at peace with nature. Yep, that's for sure. Pure capitalism will not last. This endless growth, gross domestic product, and keeping 2%, 5% growth going every year is definitely a life ender. Now, in the United States, they had the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a lot of words, and it involved a lot of different things. But within that was $37 billion a year for climate change. Whatever that means, $37 billion a year. Piss posh. It's pissing in the wind. For example, the military right now, the budget is $858 billion proposed by Congress coming up. $858 billion a year for the military. $37 billion a year for climate change. Okay, see a problem here? That's 4% of the military budget they have per year here in the United States. We have a larger military budget than the next 9 countries combined. China's the next highest at $400 billion. If everyone would quit the madness and actually devote this towards climate change, we could probably, with all that money available, even if you used half of it or a quarter of it, you could solve this climate change issue probably within 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You could retool everything, redo the infrastructure, save all life on Earth, and come up with all different plans, research and development, things like that. But they're not going to do it. For example, the B-21 bomber is $800 million per bomber, this new stealth bomber they're coming out with. And they're going to order 100 of them. So that's $80 billion in bombers, but only $37 billion to save the planet with climate change. So there's no talk from the President of the United States about climate change. None. No blah, blah, blah about it like he's doing in his campaign. It's an existential threat. But now it doesn't exist in his mind. So there's no talk from the president, no talk from the Congress, both sides, Democrats, Republicans. Throw them all out, please. You're not going to do it, but you're going to keep voting the same, get the same, we're going to die. No talk from the media. The media has no talk at all about what's going on concerning climate change. They'll talk about Celine Dion or Taylor Swift or the Dallas Cowboys, but God forbid you actually talk about what's going to actually end us in the next few years and try to save our lives. But let's worry about whether you can get to your Taylor Swift concert or not. Do a lawsuit over that rather than saving our lives. No talk from friends or family. If friends and family, I hear they're depressed about what's going on in the world and things like that. It's like, this is easily solvable. Actually do these types of things. Do action. I could be bummed beyond bummed, but instead, I'm kind of pissed. I want to take action. I want to do my best. I want to go to sleep at night and know I've done my best every day as far as this goes, and done my part as far as trying to wake people up as to what's going on in the world. And obviously that's not working so well. You're not chained to your depression. You can get out of it by actually taking action. The solution to fear and depression is actually doing action. College kids, I've talked to college kids, and you see this locally here at the local college as well as other college kids I know, and they've basically given up. They're not trying. They're not trying to do protests. They're not doing anything. They are the ones that could change everything in the world. College kids throughout the world, that age group from 18 to 30. You can change the whole world in the direction we're going, but that's not happening right now, and they've given up. And massive protests do work as long as they're peaceful. If you have violent protests, that just involves guys between 18 and 35 or whatever. But if you have massive peaceful protests, everyone can be involved. And that doesn't mean a one and done. That doesn't mean I did my protest, I did my drive down to Washington, D.C., and I went back home and I just let everything sit for 6 months. No, you got to keep at it every week. Whatever issue it is you're talking about and you want to do protests, this isn't a call out to local people that were doing protests at opposing opponents' place every day, and then they quit as soon as the election was over. If you want to actually get stuff done, you got to go to your own party, stand in front of their place, and do the protests as well. And you know who you are, who I'm talking to. And it was working, and now you stopped. You went back home, and nothing's happening. They used you, they abused you with your vote, and then they just take you for granted, and then they go on about their way. So one and done does not do it. Several protests does not do it. You got to keep at it every week, if not daily. Things that have worked in the past is civil rights protests in the 1960s, the Vietnam protests. College kids changed the direction of the whole world with that, here in the United States at least. Gandhi, there would be no India without Gandhi at all. He did protests. Nuclear war protests, 1982, where, the Cold War was going on with Russia, the Soviet Union at the time, and it's just constant building of nuclear weapons, nuclear, bombs, missiles, everything. And what happened was that we had a massive protest in New York City that I went to when I was 21 years old. And there are 1 million people there, and that changed the direction of the whole thing because there are protests worldwide as well. The protests do work, and if you don't think they do, you need to study history as to what's going on. So you college kids need to wake up, you high school kids need to wake up and start doing protests to save your very lives. So the war in Ukraine, that can't go on this way. We need to say no more. We need diplomacy to end this right now. We're spending all this money on killing each other, and instead of trying to save each other. The peace light, really, is it a peace light or not? What's the point of having it if we're not going to actually do something about it? It's not just about the civil war, as I said. This peace light involves, a different thought process needs to be dealt with. We need to stop supporting endless gross domestic product growth as well. You can't have continued growth, and not destroy us all. We're all gonna die. It's gonna become extinction, and you're gonna start seeing it this year coming up, 2023. You're seeing it around the world right now, but the global north does not see it. But it's gonna start happening more and more, and I suspect 2023 is going to be a harbinger of things to come. You can't have endless, mindless wars as well. This is ridiculous thinking this way. Just keep going, keep voting for the same people who keep saying we got to fight this, we got to fight that, and you are warmongers if you keep voting this way. That's all there is to it. Stop supporting politicians that believe in endless war and who are warmongers as well. You can't have continued fracking. You need politicians actually are thinking about the environment and surviving. And we will not survive this. I'm talking more quietly because people are here touring the battlefield now. We will not survive this the way we're going. Joe Biden originally said this is an existential threat, and then he stopped talking about it. So is it or is it not, Joe? Is it or is it not, you people in Congress? If it's not an existential threat, just keep going. See how that goes. I guarantee you we're going to be a greasy spot and not be around in the near future. And probably 10 years, where we're going or less. It's going to be, what happens is you get a societal breakdown and government breakdown, and they're no longer there for you. And then it's everyone for themselves. And that's pure bedlam. And, you end up with an end of society at that point. So, you know, is it an existential threat or not? You decide. You keep voting the same, get the same. So, you know, I hope everyone wakes up, but I seriously doubt it's happening. So, peace, light, yay, peace. Go for it. See you next week.